that horn, babe. Let's dance.
All right. Hi, I'm Brady.
And I'm Josh. And this is We Could Have Been Doctors. Did you know that...
All right, Josh, I'm going to stop you right there. I just, as far as fun facts go, I just want to, we have to realize that this is the first year in the Steelers' history that they could lose 17 regular season games because we have an off season to review that was neutral at best.
Well, I feel like if you put the rose-tinted glasses on, it was probably our best offseason we've ever had.
Well, that would be the first time you've ever done that. So, Josh, I'm just going to, for the 12 people that are listening, two of whom
our mothers. And our mothers, two of which are our mothers. To the 4 people who are listening, our mothers and our fathers, thank you very much.
The 2 organic listeners that might be stumbling across this. In quick review, Pittsburgh Steelers went 12-4 last year. The Ravens went 11-5. So did the Browns, and the Bengals went 4-11-1.
But they tried. They were there.
Participation trophies all around for Joe Burrow's knee. Real quick on that though, did you know Joe Burrow at the time of his injury was leading the league in passing yards?
Yeah, no, he was really good. That's why out of I picked him up in fantasy this year. I'm pretty happy with getting him because I feel like he was underrated, underevaluated because there's just not enough footage on him. So I think he's still gonna have a good year.
He's just gonna be seeing ghosts though. I think the first area to focus on were some of the coaching changes that were made.
Get him on.
Get him on out of here. So we obviously the biggest change in my mind was replacing Fichtner with Matt Canada. Canada was promoted in staff, which is
it was the quarterback's coach.
Classic Tomlin move, not to bring in people from outside the organization. But Ben seems to really take to him. We saw that the best plays and the best times of the season offensively for the Steelers last year was when Ben was calling plays, so meaning Randy was not calling plays. So hopefully, if we can have some consistency across the game, Canada can bring that. I'm hopeful for it, honestly. Yeah,
the offense looked different in the preseason. It's hard to say, small sample size. You didn't have first stringers in the whole time, with how well the offense is actually running, but it'll be different. We'll just have to let it ride and see. Don't want to put judgment on that too soon without having to see it, because in my mind, preseason doesn't count.
2 other important moves were, because Canada was moved to offensive coordinator, we have a new quarterbacks coach. And again, it was in-house. It's very funny because the new quarterback coach is Mike Sullivan. He used to be an Army director. But he still has a QB coaching role and QB coaching past for the Buccaneers, Giants, and Broncos. So that'll be great to kind of keep some consistency there. And the last big change is that we fired our offensive line coach. And again, Tomlin did not go outside the organization. He just promoted an assistant offensive line coach. So just kind of picked a different one. Our offensive line hasn't been the same since Munchak left. So that was pretty big. We could use him back. But in the meantime, we're just looking for the closest next guy. And hopefully this guy is an answer because the offensive line needs help and we need to protect Najee.
Which is, another big thing is we lost a lot of pieces on this offensive line. So that was another, we had a lot of holes to fill this offseason.
Right, and which is weird because before the draft, at least, the only offensive lineman that we had signed was in-house, and it was Zach Banner, which he was played sparingly. He had a knee injury last year.
And he got injured again in preseason. So my big question with that guy is, can he literally withstand NFL punishment? Because he's not ever played even a quarter of a season in the NFL without being injured, let alone he had 1 or 2 series in the preseason and he's injured again. I mean, I love the dude. He's massive. He's good at what he does when he's in the game. The question is if he can't be in the game.
The other big contracts that we did pre-draft where we got Juju back on a 1 year, $8 million deal, which I thought was pretty unexpected. I think we were both pretty excited about that. He's well worth $8 million.
Pretty excited about it. We have a lot of talented wide receivers. I mean,
that being said,
it'll be interesting to see who 1, 2, and 3 are come game day, week 1.
Well, the 5 receivers on the 53-man roster at this point, we only kept 5, which I think is interesting. We usually keep 6 and put 1 on special teams. And I guess
is it because we kept an extra tight end this year?
We have 3 tight ends. It's because we kept 5 backs, I believe, is the reason that it got diluted. The 5 receivers on roster right now are Claypool, Washington, Ray, which I'm glad he made the team. I like Ray, and he's a $1 million deal. I think that's great for what he can do. And then we have Deontay and Juju. So
who didn't make it then?
That would have been
the draft
Sexton.
Pick.
Sexton. I think we signed a lot of guys to practice.
Was he that white guy in preseason who was taking the kickoffs?
Yeah. The number 80, I believe.
Yeah.
We kept Trey Edmonds, Jalen Samuels. Those are some of the common guys that we were familiar with last year that we kept on the practice squad. We kept Anthony McFarland on the team, which I thought of the backs, he was probably the most likely to get cut. I think even being a UK guy, I think of the backs, I think Benny Snell has looked the least impressive of them all. But
Trey Edmonds has looked the least.
Well, of course. I mean, of the 5 we kept on roster.
Oh, okay.
Because we kept Harris, Snell, Balaj, McFarland, and Watt. And
Samuels is on practice squad, right?
Yeah, right. He's on practice squad. So, pretty thick at running back, quite frankly. And I mean, if we're going to keep Watt, I'm hoping that means that we'll actually use fullback. And there's rumor that there's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets and a lot of formations that use the fullback. So that'll be nice if Canada can work that out in the offense.
We'll be the Pittsburgh Patriots running 2 tight end sets of the fullback.
Hey, that, it'll be, there's days of my dad when we ran those 2 tight end sets. It reminds me when we had Heath Miller and Matt Spaeth and we'd actually run the ball, Le'Veon Bell, even before him, Jonathan Dwyer.
We drafted the tight end. He's supposed to be a good blocker. Making it a habit as of now to not commit rookies to memory until they prove themselves in actual game.
Claypool did it early on last year. He earned it, and I'm excited to see him. I think here's the rumor is just like Claypool and Deontay are just a little bit more demanding on the edge, like on the outside as receivers. There's a pretty good chance that
Juju's back in the slot.
Which is all to say that I think if we start doing these 2 tight end sets, I think it's pretty likely that the receivers on the field do not include Juju Smith-Schuster, which I think is pretty weird because he has been our best receiver for the last couple of years. But I think just at this point, we need those physical, quicker receivers, and Juju has the good hands. He'll be a possession receiver that comes in 75%, maybe 80% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Some other big signings we had, we lost Hilton to the offseason, but we re-signed Sutton. That was kind of like it's like 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. Just kind of depends what you like out of a cornerback. Well, Hilton was really great in the slot. It looks like we're going to try to play Sutton outside, and that was the question. We needed someone to be opposite of Hayden, and it seems like Sutton will be the guy. It seems like, it was a 50-50 decision. And this is just from what I've read about the Bengals camp. Apparently Hilton is getting burned in camp. I wish the best. He was really good for us, but I hate these in like in division trades. Got college football in my mind. I hate these in division trades because even though they're they're not on the team anymore, you still like the guy and you want to root for him, but it makes it really hard to root for him when they go to someone who is in division. Anyone who's in division is 100% a rival. So it's no, I kind of have to hate you because you're on the Bengals now. Just anytime it happens, it's just, I don't like it. And again, it wasn't, thankfully it wasn't a trade, it was free agent. But that being said, part of it has to be the Bengals are this guy played for them. We got to see him 2 weeks a year. This guy's good. And he was good. So I'm sure that'll pay off pretty well for them. The last kind of big signing we had was Alu, Remember, he was supposed to sign with the Jaguars, and because of COVID protocol, he got delayed. And players on our team convinced him to stay, so that's really cool. And check our run defense with him and without him last year, totally different ball game. And especially with Tuitt having some injury problems here early season, we're really going to need Alualu, who's actually pretty old. I think he's in his mid 30s. I think he's like 33, 34. It'll be pretty important that we get a good year out of him this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it comes to the defense, that's kind of just one of the things where it's like we're just expecting it to be good. He's 34, by the way. Yeah, so he is old. We're kind of just expecting the defense to be good still.
Well, yeah, no, and relying on the defense, yeah, I mean, that's kind of feels like we're going back like 20 years in time or 50 years in time, because that's what the Steelers used to be. But part of the reason is because some of the people we lost this offseason. You know, we've talked about the people we gained or re-signed. Let's talk about some of the things that we lost. First of all, Marquise Pouncey retired. That's, you know, he was an anchor on the offense for a long time and a token Pro Bowl player for years. He didn't deserve it either. Vance Mcdonald retired.
A little surprising to me. His retirement was a little surprising. It just kind of was like, all right, sure.
He had like one stiff arm for us. That's what I'll remember. And I remember we went to that Browns game too. He had a few cool catches on some sustaining drives there. And then Vince Williams retired, which is, you know, his Twitter presence will be missed, you know, as part of the team.
He'll be missed in the linebacker room too, because we got a lot of young linebackers and just we got a lot of scrubs on our team at linebacker. I'm not gonna lie.
Part of the reason is because Bug Dupree signed a contract that there was no way in hell we could pay a 5-year, $82.5 million deal with the Tennessee Titans.
Which, I mean, I don't know why they would pay him that much money for 5 years. The guy, I love Bud, really do. If you look at his numbers with TJ Watt not on the field, he doesn't ever do anything. He has got zero production. You know, against TJ Watt, you could probably put me out there and I'll get a couple sacks guaranteed, because all you got to do is beat one guy. I mean, if he's on this Tennessee defense and he's getting double teams, they're going to be wishing they paid a shoebox and a can of Pringles for this guy.
All right, let's be careful here. I remember throwing some routes for you one time, and you couldn't catch a flu if someone sneezed in your mouth.
It's a good thing I'd just be hitting a quarterback, not catching balls.
Well, you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. All right.
Speaking of Terrell Edmonds,
I don't remember. Okay. What about Terrell Edmonds?
We didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, but that's a little forward. I mean, that's next year.
Well, it's because he sucks.
Yeah, it just means 5th-year option's expensive, and we could probably get him for cheaper than that. We'll probably re-sign him, but on a deal that's not that high. I mean, he was a high pick. Some of the other losses that we had were Villanueva to the Ravens.
To the freaking Ravens. That's so annoying.
I can't wait for TJ Watt to blow right past him.
Sit him down. Punch him in the mouth.
James Conner, hometown boy, signed with the Cardinals.
I like that Cardinals team a lot, dude.
That'd be fun.
I really like that Cardinals team.
You know, it's weird. I don't think he'll even be the starter there. I think they have that Chase Edmonds, and they'll probably go 50-50 with those two. I think that would be good for him. As long as they don't run him into the ground, you know, he could have a good year there. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to miss Connor. He's a good player, fun to root for. He had a cool story. It was always nice, you know, the cancer thing, whatever. So
at the time of recording this, we're not sure about this, but Sean Davis signed a deal with the Colts, and then they let him go. And I'm not sure if we've picked him up yet, but I'd be super surprised if we have not put Sean Davis either on our practice squad or on our 52-man roster. So I'll have to check that while
maybe we even put him on the 53-man roster.
All right, Josh. Well, I was just saying Presley Harvin takes up Presley Harvin,
the stud.
One second. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, 53-man roster. I was only saying that because Presley Harvin takes up 2 spots on that bench.
Dude, he's great. I love him. I mean, as far as punters go, I'm glad we have him. It's going to be electric watching him. He played some quarterback back in his day, so I could see some very fun trick plays coming, some fun razzle dazzle with our punter ex quarterback, you know.
Well, my hope is that he can play some cornerback because one of the more important cuts that we had this year that I really don't understand why it happened. It was Steven Nelson, and then he signed a worse deal in the free agency. He was the cornerback that stood opposite of Joe Hayden, and is the reason that we have to put
Nelson Island, Twitter,
or
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But he signed a worse deal in the offseason. It really doesn't make sense.
Where'd he go?
Who gives a shit? I think he signed with the Jets, quite frankly. You could ramble for a second while I look that up because you remember he played against Hayden. It was a pretty good tandem.
Yeah, he was good. I remember I'm pretty sure there was a lot of drama around him leaving the Steelers, and then he started kind of bashing players and coaches and the organization, and he burned a lot of bridges, and like, I don't know, something went south and something went sour there, and it went sour fast, and he just wanted out.
Right. He thought he could make more money because he's kind of an aging cornerback. He probably has one last time to cash in, which is probably true, and it's real. And he's been at least, above average at quarterback, and he used to be really good. The Eagles ended up signing him on a really nice deal for the Eagles, which is just crazy. So he must have just had a bone to pick with our team for some reason. And he's not that far away. I mean, Philadelphia is the other side of Pennsylvania. So I guess he just had to hop in his car. He's just going to make the commute every day to practice.
Yeah, that is sad. I kind of forgot about him, honestly. Yeah. So when it comes to defense, we really, big key pieces, but it's not like big name key pieces, but it's like pieces that there's a chance we're going to notice that they're gone.
In the absence of Bud Dupree, we were able to sign Melvin Ingram, which is, a really nice deal. I mean, even if he's not, if he's 75% of what he used to be on a $4 million deal, that's crazy. That's very welcomed. We signed a tackle from the Buccaneers, Joe Haig, and then Trey Turner from the Chargers. And Balaj, we mentioned him, and then, someone that we're hoping pans out, but maybe not. And, we saw flashes and we heard he was doing well in camp, but Dwayne Haskins still sitting there. I mean,
Yeah, he kind of went
at one point.
He kind of went 50-50 on the preseason games. He had one game where it's like, all right, yeah, that's pretty decent. And then he had one game where it was not good at all, and he looked horrible. So I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. As I was hoping that, he was going to be the future of the Steelers. I think he just has to learn, and he's got to be willing to learn too. He's got a lot of good knowledge in that quarterback room because Dobbs is still around, still got Ben. Rudolph is, I guess this is the year, right? Well, I assume we're probably going to see Rudolph in maybe a game or two at least. We'll have to kind of see, and then I assume we'll have to make a decision on Rudolph or
here's the funny
Haskins.
thing is that everyone, and their mother that isn't a Steeler fan, doesn't watch the games, would just say that Ben's arm is shot, and he's old. If you watch the games, really, it's his knee. He couldn't step into his throws. He took a knee. Maybe Josh can pull up a few pictures in the video, but there was a few shots that Ben took in that Cowboys game that, was way too close for comfort against Brandon Gilbert was whoever the starting quarterback for the Cowboys at the time, but he took the knee injury, and from that point on, he could not, step into his throws the same way our offense kind of deteriorated at that point. It's more important that this offense protects his knees than his arm. His arm is still there, like he was still making some bomb throws. Even in the preseason, he had that one game and all Twitter was just like, oh no, is Ben back? Yeah. So it's about keeping his knees fresh, and hopefully him losing, whatever it was, 40 pounds over the offseason will be a big difference maker and keep some weight off his knees.
Yeah, it was rumored that this offseason Ben actually took care of his body, but I think we all know that was a lie.
Well, let's see what tools we gave him in the draft. The first 3 picks were all on the offensive side. We
which is out of the ordinary for us. We normally have a defensive pick in the first round,
and no receiver in the first 4 rounds, which is usually we actually didn't take a receiver if you don't count Freiermuth as a receiver. We didn't take a receiver all of the draft, so I don't know who the random receiver that we developed is this year because it ain't someone that we drafted. But that being said, we got Najee Harris, first running back taken in the draft, 24th.
Controversial. And you and I kind of went back and forth on this before the draft as well, on if we'd be happy with Najee Harris or if we would be upset with Najee Harris. And I think it just kind of ended up with Stockholm syndrome that whoever we picked, we're going to be happy with it. But
he looked the way he looked in preseason, and it does not matter. Preseason does not matter. Everyone's going to forget the preseason on the first snap of the regular season, but he looked explosive. We get him out in space, away from our offensive line. We don't have to leave it up to chance. He really does look like a more agile, like Le'Veon Bell, because Le'Veon Bell was kind of bigger. Najee can move. He's a little bit nimble.
He's got hands, speed. And he's got hands speed too.
Le'Veon had quickness. Najee has speed. It's a totally different ball game, So we get him out in open. So, and right, in his hands. There's a chance that he breaks the Steelers rookie reception record, honestly, because Ben loves to dump it down. So that'll be good. Freiermuth, tight end out of Penn State, was our second pick. There's some offensive line available at the point, and we still went tight end. How do you feel about that pick?
I'm okay with it. The kid's good. Remember, I've seen him play in, because I'm big college football guy as well. I've seen him play. He's a good guy, got hands. He can block. He's big. He's 6'5". He's a big guy, not Zach Gentry big, but
not Josh Sampson big though, right?
Not Josh Sampson big.
That's you, big boy.
That's me. Yeah. He's a rookie. It's a tight end. I mean, it's hard to say, are we going to use tight ends in this new look offense? Maybe. I hope so. I mean, let's assume we're going to use them in this offense. If not, then it could be a wasted pick. Who knows?
Yeah. And then, it's funny because I remember there was the PFF website and you could do a mock draft, and me and you would go back and forth trying to get the best grades on our draft and stuff. And the guy that came up continuously in our mock drafts as we try to get a better grade was Kendrick Green from Illinois.
This dude's a stud.
It's I don't know if he's a stud, but it's
a stud.
This is the guy that best value would always fall to us. So I think that's really funny. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure in every single one of my PFF mock drafts, I took Kendrick Green, and I always took him in around where the Steelers took him. So I kind of just knew that pick was coming.
So in this tool, it would let you do a mock draft given the picks that your team has, and you could trade around and stuff. And it's just very funny because 3rd and 4th round always rolled around, and Kendrick Green would always be the best value pick and a pick that the Steelers always would need. The only time I got an A+ on that tool, though, is when I traded all of the picks in the draft for first overall so we could take Trevor Lawrence. Apparently that's what an A+ draft would have looked like for the Steelers.
Which I would have been very upset with that draft.
Yeah, because who's he going to hand the ball off to?
Who's going to block for him? I mean, who's gonna block for him down in Jacksonville? Who's handing it off to down there as well? So
yeah, they cut Tim Tebow, so they just lost their best block.
Yeah, they got no one to block, and they don't even have a good tight end anymore.
All right, so that is us through the draft. Some of the key.
No, you're missing Buddy Johnson. Come on, we got a new Bud. Bud Dupree, so we can still keep the, Bud brings a Bud Steelers thing going that they have on their YouTube page.
That was important to point out.
Yeah, it was important to point out. And you're missing the most important draft.
I was going to don't worry about it because it was the biggest competition in camp. I'm getting there right now.
Okay, well, I don't want you to forget my boy.
So now what we're going to do is fast forward through the preseason again, because it does not matter. First snap of the regular season is the only thing that matters, because we'll forget all the good and bad performances of the preseason. We're just going to go through some of the things that I thought were questionable about the roster, or things that I liked. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So again, we kept 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster because Dobbs is on IR. How do you feel about try to keep all four somewhat connected with the Steelers.
I like trying to keep all four. I've said this. I think I've said this a lot. I really like Dobbs. I've always liked Dobbs. I've always kind of had a soft spot for the guy. I think he's smart. I think he knows the game. And I think the skill's there. I mean, I know he's never been higher than like 3 on our depth chart, but I like keeping him around because he's smart. Like the dude knows the game. So whether or not he ever plays for us, hopefully he sticks around in the organization because he's smart and he knows what he's doing. So yeah, keep all 4 of them.
Good. And we talked about receivers and running backs a bit. We kept, we have Ebron and Freiermuth. Like we were both frustrated last year with some of Ebron's drops, but we know he could be, basically like a 6th receiver. The way that he plays, he's got, the speed and the hands. But
not the hands. As long as he takes his hands out of the cinder blocks.
It's weird. He can make spectacular catches, but he can't make like the mundane catches. So, like with that being said, do you think that there's any chance by the end of the year that Freiermuth is playing more snaps than Ebron?
Yeah, only because I think Freiermuth can block more, and I think if you draft a running back with your first overall pick in the draft, like with your first round pick in the draft, you are committing to the run game. And, with patching up the O-line and stuff, I feel like we have committed to the run game. So if that's the case, I could see Freiermuth playing more only just as a blocking tight end over Ebron because he's a pretty undersized tight end.
Now, the bulk of the positions that we still like left on the roster are O-line, D-line, and linebacker. We have a lot of our positions tied up in that. And I think it's more just because no one really separated themselves, from the pack in a great way. But some of the cooler names that I think that we decided to keep, like you said, Buddy. So our rookie made it. Jameer Jones made the team. Those are some of the, people that might've been on the fence. One of the players we just recently cut was Henry Mundell on the defensive line. And the reason that we did that is because of a recent trade. Actually, we traded for a cornerback from Seattle for a 5th round pick, Witherspoon, and everyone on the Seattle Seahawks subreddit was just like, he will have great games and bad games, and there's really no in between. So he'll fit right. He'll fit
right in with our secondary.
Yeah. So there's more cornerback help there, which just goes to say that we have kept Justin Lane on the 53-man roster, which is going to be a problem. If there's really if there's any big question mark on our team, it's our cornerback
position. Yeah. I mean, the only cornerback that I am remotely confident in is Hayden and Sutton. Like we've got Lane, Mollett, Pierre, and Witherspoon. And
I've heard good things about Pierre. In the preseason, he actually made a few good plays, but that's
it's preseason.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
the training wheels are on. Who cares?
So hopefully this the Seattle veteran is going to bring some presence to the team. But speaking of veteran, and a real competition in camp would have been the rookie Presley Harvin, 7th round pick, thick boy. Versus Jordan Berry. And I think, the way that the camp, it looked like it was neck and neck, and they still gave it to Presley. So I think that's really cool. It'll be, and at the Hall of Fame game, I think everyone, maybe, every football head saw the crazy good punt.
It was on the 1 yard line or 3 yard line or something.
Right. And it was, not with no help of the coverage team. It was just a perfect punt.
Good ball. I mean, it's cool. How often do you see a 6 foot, 255-pound punter?
And with that being said, I really do think that, special teams, I mean, Boswell was really great last year. We have a chance to, really, our special teams is kind of questionable year to year. I think we have, really 2 people I'm pretty confident in to do well. Boswell's like a pretty short thing within 50 yards. And, if we can't make it that far, Harvin can flip the field. So it'll be really cool to see that.
Can't forget our special teams all-star team captain, Derek Watt.
Oh, God. Yeah. No. Yeah. Which leads us to at least this show's biggest, what we're worried about is we still have not signed TJ Watt to a long-term extension. He's the best edge rusher in the league. It's not even close.
I don't care that he's ranked under Myles Garrett or whoever else was ranked above him in the NFL top 100.
We need to pay him a record-breaking contract because the highest paid defender in the league right now is an edge rusher. So we need to pay him higher than that guy. So, and he just deserves it. He's an anchor to the defense. He's a game changer. There were a lot of third downs that he got sacks on last year. We need to sign him. So I think it is funny. Josh kind of alluded to it. We named captains for the first time for offense, defense, and special teams, and we made Derek Watt the captain of the special teams. So it's like, hey, we might not sign you to like a record-breaking deal, but we will make your brother the special teams captain.
Yeah, everyone was saying that after that last preseason game that his contract would be done the next day, and then it didn't happen. And then it was like, all right, maybe they're just waiting. And then reports come out, oh, he's not practicing with the team. He shows up to the facility, but he doesn't practice. He's just
he's doing individual drills, but not with the team.
Yeah, he's not practicing with the team. And it's like, oh, he's not holding out per se, but he's like, I want my contract, give me my contract. And I don't know what's causing the feet to drag on this one because we need him. We do not have the luxury of not having him on the field. So hopefully he's there week 1.
But he's a transcendent athlete and one of the best edge rushers we've had in a long time, probably the best we've had in a while. I mean, names like Joey Porter, Woodley, guys like that come up, Harrison, but I don't think I've seen in my lifetime anyone more dominant than TJ. So with that being said, there is a soft deadline because the Steelers do not sign extensions during the NFL season. That's kind of a principle that they've held to, and they've actually held to it. That means we have until Saturday to hear news about a TJ Watt extension. So, yikes.
Big yikes.
We're going to have the most cap of any team in the NFL next year. So we should be able to get this done. But
I mean, he'll probably eat up a big chunk of that when it comes to next season, but who cares?
Right. No, but we have ready to go around. I mean, the whole point is that we have to set up a team around a questionable quarterback next year because it probably won't be Ben. And even if it is Ben, it's still questionable. So
is next year finally where Antonio Brown's off our payroll, right? That was last year he was off.
Yeah.
Who's the big one? Is it Ben's contract is the big this year?
Ben's the biggest dead money would have been the biggest dead money contract on our systems this year. Next year it's minimal. I think next year it's $11 million, which I know is still a lot of money, but it would have been like 40 million this year. So
yeah.
With that being said, we go in. We're playing the Bills in Buffalo, week 1.
That's rough.
It's gonna be a tough week 1.
Rough week 1.
And I don't know about you. I don't want to wax poetically. I kind of want to see how week 1 goes before we really discuss what this team can do. Because really, I think we have the potential to go, 12-5 here, or we have the potential to go much worse than that. 5-12 even. So
I think this team's going to live or die by our ability to run the ball. I think it's going to come down to this team's going to live or die by can we run the ball? Because last year that was our big problem. It doesn't matter if you got a quarterback and wide receivers that can, throw and catch the ball. If there's no threat ever of the run game, the defense knows what's coming every single play. So if we can get the ball running and Najee Harris actually pans out to be worth the number 1, our first pick in the draft, then I think 12-5 is within reach. I'd temper expectations, say 11-6. Let's be.
So 11-6, your final guess for record?
Yeah, 10-7.
All right. Well, then my official is going to be 11-6. So I'm glad you changed. So
mine's 10-7.
We'll split the difference there. All right. And then lastly, before we head off, what is a game score prediction for this Buffalo Steelers game? Again, we're not going to get into. We'll talk more about what happened in the game next week after the game. But what are some of the expectations? What do you think the score will be?
I'm thinking 26-23. I thinking a field goal decides this.
Who wins?
26-23 Steelers.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
I
Wow, that's the most, again,
I mean,
this is the most optimistic I've ever heard you be about.
because
this
let's
team.
look, our week ones normally we come out firing. Everyone's healthy, everyone's fresh, they're running. You got guys able to, defense is there. Hopefully TJ Watt's there. I'd say we get it. I'd say we get it by a field goal though. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I would have to say Tomlin is just so weird now. He coaches. Sometimes we are ready to go week one, and sometimes we get our ass kicked. I'm gonna guess it's lower scoring. I think it's defense. While the defenses are fresh and Buffalo's defense, I'm gonna say it's gonna be 20-13 Steelers.
See, I that's a good score. I like that. I just think that Josh Allen's going to put up 2 sneaky touchdowns on us at least. I hate to say this. I think he's going to throw for a long bomb and then he's running in one himself. I think Josh Allen's going to have at least 2 touchdowns tied to him, throwing one and then he's running in one.
So we got 26-23. We have 20-13, and we're both being homers for the game. All right, can't wait to lose by 30 and cry a little bit with you next week, Joshy.
We have to pick the Steelers for the first game. After this, then we can start picking other teams. But you got to start off the season.
Could be wrong here, but I think this is true that if we started 11-0 last year, I'm pretty sure we won our home opener and our first game last year as well. So hopefully that trend continues this year.
Hopefully that trend continues. But if that is also the case, then starting week, whatever it was, we're going to fall off the rails and, lose out the season.
If that does happen, then if we lost in the divisional round last year, that would have been that's what week 17 is now. Imagine if we go 11-6 still, get into the playoffs. We don't even know what happened week 18 last year. So, there
you go. Got to look at that half full glass. Look at the rose tinted glasses on now.
I'm Brady, and here goes another year of me spending time where I could have been researching and spending time being a doctor, but instead I decided to waste some time with my buddy Josh here talking about the Steelers.
I even bought textbooks this year. I got a kinesiology textbook burning a hole on my desk right behind me.
Josh, I told you, wood makes for much better warmth, and if you're looking to warm up the house, please get wood or some kindling.
What else am I supposed to do with my $300 though? Buy a textbook, right?
Yeah, because I'm sure you didn't burn your ones from college already. That's right, guys. I don't think you would have suspected that, but Josh did, in fact, go to college.
I am college educated. Shocker to many. I am also single. Shocker to most.
Shocker to no one that listens to this podcast or your Twitter account. But I'm Brady.
And I'm Josh.
And this is We Could Have Been Doctors.
But instead, we're sitting here in these sweaty chairs recording a podcast about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Speak for yourself, brother. Got a sweatless chair going on right now. We'll see you guys next week.